Guys, we're going to start. We're going to start. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Parks and Recreation and Leisure Activities Committee, July 5th, 2023, 12 o'clock, Council Chambers, Charlottetown City Hall. Call the meeting to order. Declarations of conflict of interest. None. Approval of agenda. Thank you. I just have a couple of notes that I want to bring up under new business. I'll bring it up under new business, just a couple of quick items. Adoption of minutes. Oh, second, thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Okay, thank you. Reports. We have Doug Dumais, who's going to give us a report on Fiona Wood Public Art site approval. Mr. Dumais, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today we are here just to discuss the site approval for a new public art piece that has been proposed for Connaught Square. This public art piece will be made from wood that was salvaged by city work crews during the aftermath of Hurricane Fiona. So, as I said, it's for site approval. After the site approval, the city will issue a open call for artists to submit a concept. And afterwards, that will go through the typical process for public art approvals. The location, Connaught Square, came out of discussions with the Parks and Rec staff, and Connaught Square was identified as a valuable location, and there's a rationale provided in your package that refers to the master plan and design guidelines for the historic squares. So the goal is to make sure that this piece aligns with those recommendations in those guidelines and that master plan to ensure that the site is very intentional and it relates to the history, and that it's a square that was identified during that master plan development, that it was a site that perhaps could use a bit more attention, could incorporate art, and that historically it had suffered quite a bit of damage to the high canopy trees due to several storms, including White Juan, as well as more recent storms such as Dorian and post-tropical storm Fiona. So it's a highly used green space. It's a great site. The location is provided, the exact locations rather are provided in the appendix. Two sites in Connaught Square were identified as preferred locations, again referring to the master plan and design guidelines for the historic squares. Those two, it's not two artworks for two sites, it's one artwork for one of two sites identified in the appendix. The exact location will be determined based on the art that we get through the call for proposals. In terms of next steps, once site approval is gone through council, which requires this committee as well as the Heritage Board to review the site. Heritage Board will be meeting today at 4:30 as well to go through this similar process for site approval. The call will be issued, and then that will go through the typical sort of established public art approval process, which involves going to Heritage Board, the Economic, Tourism and Cultural Development Standing Committee, Arts Advisory Board, of course, and Council for final endorsement. So members of this committee will also have the opportunity to participate in discussions related to the actual selection of the final artwork when it goes to Council by the end of the summer or early fall, depending on timelines. So I'm happy to answer any questions or anything, and yeah, I look forward to seeing the artwork come to life.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, is this the only piece, or are we looking to do, I'm hopeful that there's a lot more pieces from Fiona damage that we're able to do artwork for.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bernard. So, Mr. Chair, through Councillor Bernard, this is the only artwork so far that has been approved through the budget process. We currently have quite a few kind of commemorative projects on the go, which are not led by my department and I can't necessarily speak to, but I know that there have been other funds allocated towards commemorative projects. So in terms of public art, this is the only piece that's on the radar for now. At a later date, once we go for a call for projects, if we do receive several projects that are interesting, we would probably proceed through our budget process for additional funding for additional pieces in the future. But for right now, it's one artwork.
Okay, so maybe, Mr. Chair, I thought I seen somewhere, and maybe it was, I thought Parks and Rec was going to be doing equipment with some of the larger Fiona Down trees, or maybe I'm wrong, but I thought they were going to be looking at making some benches and making some different, I don't know if I'd call it art. I mean, you look at the park they did down by, what's it called? Bond Shop. Allow the wood they use to make a lot of the equipment and benches and so on. I thought we were going to be going along that same road.
Councillor Bernard, I know that I believe Public Works is looking at a couple benches, commemorative benches, and then we're sort of seeing as well, and I see Sue coming here, so.
Here's this piece, Public Works is doing that for wood projects, and Carly's group is also doing elm pins through the offices.
So there we go, Sue's provided me some
I
information
did read
here.
it somewhere, then thank you,
So,
Sue.
yeah, so the tree, I can't even say the word, projects, elm pens is what's the office of the CEO, they're looking at doing up. And then in Public Works, I was correct when indicating that Public Works is looking at managing the millings and the kindling process to be ready for the woods to be ready for other projects, project ideas, wood furniture, and commemorative pieces and reflections at the end of the year. So we're going to see where we're at and see what sort of other projects we can do, but this is the
No,
first art project.
that's good news, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the more useful things we can make with these products, the better. I mean, Fiona obviously is going to go down in history as one of the worst. Hopefully it goes down as the worst. But I think there's opportunity here to use a lot of that, because a lot of those trees that come down are used, those big elms, and especially in some of the squares that get decimated. So it would be nice to be able to put some use to that. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question of curiosity, what is the artwork design going to be? Is it going to be for practical use? I know there's one that, I think over at King Square here, there was chairs. So what is the artwork? I don't think I've identified that here, but maybe it hasn't been identified yet.
Thank you, Councillor. So to the chair, through Councillor Matart, we have in the call, it'll be identified that the hope is that the piece incorporates some level of interactivity, just because that was something that was identified in the master plan, that it be interactive and playful, and actually does reference the King Square chairs, the butcher chairs, as a similar example. So it depends on how artists respond to that call.
Okay.
We might get there's no knowing what our creative community will come up with and what they'll propose, but we'll ensure that there's the language around interactivity, whatever that means within that context.
And does it also fit within Connaught Square and its history? And, I guess there's all kinds of forms of art, and there could be anything that may not fit within that particular area. So that'll be all considered as well?
Yeah, so that's the value of going to heritage for site approval. And for right now, really, we're just looking at site approval.
Okay.
And
So
then
not at the
the
design.
details about the artwork will be kind
Okay.
of forthcoming through the process.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have a question. I'm hoping, Doug, that we're not just concentrating, this artwork just in the downtown core. There's other parts of the city as well. So we have a lot of nice parks throughout the city of Charlottetown. So what always intrigues me is why we always concentrate in the downtown core when there's other parts of the city too. That deserves to have, artwork of this significance. So hopefully when you come back, we'll see proposals for other parts of the city.
Yeah, I think that's why we asked. I think that's why we asked what other pieces they're possibly making.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the hope, is that they do move around the city. Yeah.
Yes, Chair Twill, yeah. So our intent is this is sort of the first one. And we're going to see how it's how it sort of goes through the process, and then we'll look at where other, because there's other parks that have been heavily damaged as well, that a Fiona art piece might make sense as well. So it's all based on, at the end of the day, budget as well, so.
Yes, I understand that, but over the years, it's always been concentrated in the downtown core. There's other parts of the city as well. So let's start looking outside of the downtown core throughout the city.
Yeah, I think though, other artwork has been all throughout the city. Like that gentleman that we have hired has been doing all the sculptures. They've moved that around every ward.
Well, I haven't seen every ward. No. So Doug, I want you to be very conscientious about that. Thank you. Second, motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, Doug. Okay, our next item, a resolution to award Mulberry Park multi-purpose outdoor facility dashboard system. Frank?
All right, Chair Twill and committee. Let's get to the right place here. All right, so and I got Christopher here. Christopher's the lead in this project, so if I'm unable to answer questions, he'll be able to answer them. So with regards to, this project's being broke into two different parts to it. The first part is actually, we're going with a little slightly different system than we did at the Hillsborough, the Gordy Griffin outdoor rink and the West Royalty outdoor rink. We're going with a dasher board system, which is a steel frame with a plastic around it and with a netting. So it's a little different system that will attach to the actual surface. And we've looked into it and just the cost. Part of it is to do with the cost of wood right now. It's extremely high and expensive, and it's just even the flexibility of actually attaching these systems. So these systems will attach right to the actual surface. Am I correct in saying that, Christopher?
Correct.
Yeah. So we've redesigned the board system. So the first resolution you'll see there is for the US supply and install of the dashboard system, and that's for $128,000 plus applicable taxes. We did go out to request for proposals in this, and we had a fair bit of interest, but we only ended up having one company bid on it, but it is deemed to be a reasonable price. And along with this resolution, we're approving the Coles Associates. We've hired them for engineering and professional fees, $25,945 plus applicable taxes. So that's the first resolution, and you'll see our overall budget we had for this project was $400,000. So that falls within that easily. Outside of that, the reason why we had to go out in two different RFPs as well is that we need to get this board system ordered. It takes 6 to 8 weeks from delivery once we get the design done. So it will be, once we get the resolution approved, we'll get this system ordered. It'll take a week or so for delivery after that, and then a week for installation. So we would hope to have all the site work done, which is the second resolution, but we'll get this here, have it ordered, and then have it arrive and have the site all ready. Any questions on the dashboard system?
Mr. Chair? So we're changing the design or the material. Do we have a drawing? Is that part of the package, or maybe I missed that? Is there a drawing?
It's just to keep the water in the.
Yeah, so the overall design spec system would be the RFP that would have shown the actual that, but it actually is an improved system. What we're doing is putting a curbing around it, around the surface as well, so it's going to actually keep, one of the issues we've been having with the board system on the side and putting the actual plastic around the outside, it's very hard to get a tight water seal. So this will allow us to have a tight water seal around the sides. The board system, dashboard system will sit on top of it, but you'll have a curbing all around the bottom that will keep the water in, and it'll be easier to flood. We've been struggling with the weather here recently, the up and down temperature in the wintertime, that we lose the water. We can't keep the water in the actual rink.
So Christopher, or Mr. Chair, through the chair, Christopher or Frank, so this is an issue out in Hillsborough Park in
Yes.
West Royalty?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get an answer. Yeah, is it?
It has, yeah, it has been a slight. We've improved the one at West Rowley, has been better. The one at Hillsborough, we're making, our Gordy Griffin's rink, we're looking at trying to make improvements to that, but it has been, it's when you don't have a complete water seal. So this is going to allow us to have a complete water seal around, and we'll have drainage. We have drainage out at the West Rowley one that allows us to drain, but this will improve it. We're making improvements as we do more, as we construct these. And this is similar to one that actually, I believe King Core has one of the dasher board systems, so.
Question, Mr. Chair. So it's going to have wooden boards, right? Like that, I'm trying to visualize it.
It'll be similar to a rink, like a hockey rink with the metal boards and then the plastic on the side, or like the puck board along the side of it. So it'll resemble more of an outdoor rink than the two at Gordy Griffin or West Royalty.
Right.
It won't have wooden, it'll be more of a puck board style outdoor rink.
Right. So there'll be netting all the way around or just at the ends? Like at Hillsborough Park, it has netting all around. Does it?
Hillsborough Park has netting along the two ends and then also along the roadway to keep pucks or balls or something from going on the road.
Right.
This one will have more netting around the whole system, especially at the ends and along the sides to contain the pucks.
Okay.
Or balls, whatever inside. And it will also have netting that is, the issue with the West Royalty rink, and we can run into it with the Hillsborough rink too, is that when they go to remove the snow, if it's just loose netting, then the snow doesn't, when they bring the tractor in or something to remove the snow, they only have a certain area that they can push the snow out, whereas this will have a thicker gauge of fencing, so you can blow the snow through it and it doesn't get caught up in it, and you can remove it much easier instead of using a small blower or pushing it off.
It's just, Mr. Chair, it's too bad we didn't have an image, because I can visualize Hillsborough Park and I can visualize West Royalty. A steel structure, like, again, the wooden structure is a very reinforced outdoor multi-use sport venue. I just, can you guys send that to us? Is that possible?
There is some drawings attached with the, not in this document, but with the RFP that went out, there would have been drawings and examples of the system that they're going to have installed, so I can certainly send that to the committee.
Oh, okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, with the new dasher board system, sounds like it's more efficient and will help to address some of the issues you're having with current systems. Does that add any additional operating costs throughout the year? I think you mentioned about some of the liner, so to the chair through to Chris, is there cost associated with the replacement of that liner kind of annually? What kind of lifespan can we get out of that type of system?
So, Councilor Retired, so actually, there will be no liner. This is what we're getting away from. We've tried the liner out at the Gordy Griffin one, and it just doesn't work. It gets cut, water thaws and whatnot, and people skate on it. So this will alleviate the need for the liner, and it'll actually is going to make it more efficient for operations. So it'll be much more efficient, should be less staff time. When the ice thaws, the water will just stay in it and then refreeze.
Okay, because I thought you indicated there was something butting up against the thing. Did you not indicate?
It's a concrete curbing that goes all the way around the whole system, and the dasher board system sits on top of it. It's like you'd see in a rink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's making, and then you have your surface, so there'll
Yeah, I
be a,
misunderstood that. Thank
Yep,
you.
sorry.
I thought there was a line or another additional kind of newer technology that was running around the
Yeah.
bottom. Okay.
well, and what we'll do is we'll get to show the design, and that'll give you a visual.
So just on to Mayor Brown's comment, I think clearly when you look at the Gordy Griffin Park, it is aesthetically nice looking rink from a wood perspective. And on the outside facade of this, and this might be to Chris through the chair, is it just like a white boarding type thing we generally see for a rink, or what's it gonna look like aesthetically for that area?
It will be you'll see the metal boards on the outside. I'll have to double check and see if, like on the inside, there's the puck board or the white board that's on the inside. But on the outside, I'll double check and confirm if it's the same style. It won't be wood, but it would be,
I'm just thinking, as great as the rink would be, it could be an eyesore too, you know, like in the sense of just what that structure would look like. I'd be curious to see what the outer perimeter of that structure would look like in that park, because there's not too much going to hide that rink, I would think. And again, we don't even know where you're actually putting it there. I assume it's got to be adjacent to the basketball courts. It's the only thing I can think of is in that general area.
It's just a comment. So it's right next to the ball field and behind the actual clubhouse. So it's their location right
You're
there.
going that way.
It's going linear that way.
I know what you mean.
And once you see a visual, we'll get a visual picture here.
I'll be
It actually
curious.
does look very sharp. It looks very official. It looks like a rink, and it's,
Okay.
we were impressed when we did see the visuals of it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, no further questions? Motion?
Yeah, no, it sounds to me like it's very similar to a rink. You walk in, you see the metal, you see the puck board. I mean, it's the very same thing, only they're doing it outside. I do think it's an improvement. I know, and we talked about the liner, and we talked, the kids, when these facilities are built, want to get on them and want to get on them as soon as possible. I know there's times where we had the liner, ice is still soft, the foot goes through, cuts the liner, then it leaks. One of the issues in Hillsborough Park is when we do get a thaw, the water does escape. And so it's starting all over again, and that's what we wanted to avoid. So if there's improvements can be made, and these guys are recommending them, then I say, definitely go with it, because if you keep the water in, when you get the cold out, cold again, you're way ahead of the game. So I'll move this.
Yeah. So motion's on the floor, so can I just ask a question? So, Mr. Chair, when we were going to tender with this, I didn't know it was going to be a steel design. I just thought it was going to be similar to what we had in Hillsborough Park and out at West Royalty Park. So I'm trying to look for the tender online here, and I can't find it, but I'd like to get a copy of that, because it's always good to see if we're changing the design. And just as Councillor Matart said, the aesthetics of Mulberry Park, okay, are unique because it's surrounded by residential properties. It's adjacent on the north side is a baseball field, there's a basketball court, all the amenities of a great place to enjoy the outdoors. I just hope aesthetically this meets the surrounding environment, because if not, Mr. Chair, you'll be hearing about it. Thanks, sir.
I just have one concern. I don't know, and maybe they took it into account. I'm just wondering, the chair with the plexi board, the puck board, and the metal beams. I suspect it would be a lot louder.
Sorry?
I suspect it'd be a lot louder when the pucks hit the boards than the wood that we've had. So I don't know if that was considered when you guys were talking to the vendors or whoever. But I think if you go with that particular design, I think it would be a lot louder. So I'm just bringing that up because if they're out there at 10, 11 o'clock at night, it could be pretty loud, as opposed to the wood that deadens the sound. But other than that, I think, yeah, go with it.
Motion's on the floor. Moved by Councilor Bernard, second by Councilor Matart. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. 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 Yeah, so, okay, so, the floor is open. We're putting the motion on the floor. Okay.
Just a quick question on the site work, because I want to go back to the total budget of this was 400,000, which does include both the tendering of the 128 and the 2525 for the Coal Associates, but now also in regard to the site work by Landmark. Is that what I'm understanding correctly before we get too far here? The 222?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
So for a total of just being shy of our 400,000, like underneath, yep, in total. So
It's-
220 and 150.
Yeah, so it's shy of 400,000. When you add the 10%, it's slightly over. So we have a shortfall of 14,000, a little over 14,000, which is less than 3%. And I wish all of our projects were that close. It would make it easier for us when we're awarding them.
Just a point of information, Mr. Chair, I think the 10% is the HST, which is the provincial portion. That comes back to us through a capital tax, is it a capital tax transfer? It's a credit back
It's a revenue back that the
Yeah,
city
so
puts
it's an
in
in
the
and out.
account. Yeah, it's an in and out. So it's just we have to cover it under ours and then the city gets it back.
And one final question, now that I thought of it. So envisioning where this is going to go, based on the fact that you indicated behind the building, I forget what the building's called there, I guess the little community clubhouse. That has a direct impact on some of the soccer fields there, I believe, or it depends on how far you're going to the ball field. So I'm just wondering, how has the soccer association been consulted with regarding potential impacts on field space there?
Through the chair to Councilor Matart. So there is one mini soccer field that is at the very top of that area where they're closer to the ball field. It'll be slightly impacted, but there is some room at the other end that we will work with the soccer club to,
Just go down further.
yeah,
this
just to
way.
go down further to that area, so.
Yeah, because I know they do a lot. My young fella works there, and I know they do quite a bit, like right directly behind, all the way up to like parallel with the edge of the building. And maybe just using it because it's there, it's green space and it's there, so why not utilize it? Doesn't necessarily mean it can't be pushed down a little bit further, closer to the other end. Okay. So it won't be a surprise to the Sherwood Rangers Soccer Association or anything. Thank you.
And I'll just provide just a few comments. So this is the site work for this project. And what it is we're going to get this awarded right away. This work will take place while we're waiting for delivery of the dashboard system. It'll be completed by the middle of September, and then the dashboard system will be installed. So,
Okay. Oh, all in favor, sorry.
I'm going to hand this over to His Worship because he had brought it up at the last meeting. He wanted it added to the agenda.
So we have an issue that's right in front of us, and that's the Mulberry Park. And I think this is a great opportunity to bring forth or call a neighborhood meeting on what this facility will look like and potential impact that will have on the surrounding community. That's one area. And I think the manager recalls the first term that the present chair served back in 2018 to 2022. There was discussion about going to neighborhood meetings, and we didn't get to that point because the chair moved on to another committee to chair halfway through. So there are, I'm sure, many issues, Mr. Chair, that we could bring forth and discuss here at this committee, standing committee level. But I think the first and foremost is just a call out to the neighbors there in the Mulberry area, Mulberry Park area, to ask, we're going to meet at the Sherwood Rec Center or the Maple Room in the Cody Banks Arena and present some ideas. And I think, Mr. Chair, did you not mention that we plan to have a neighborhood meeting on the new Simmons Aqua Arena facility? I'd like to get a date on that too. So that's a couple right there, Mr. Quinn. Or do you want to add any, Councillor Tweel?
So I can just provide comment on that if you want. So yeah, so something we could do at a neighborhood meeting, and it'd be for further information. We provide, here's what we're doing, kind of thing. Right now, we're in the process of awarding these tenders, and if we want to get this project done this year, we need to get it awarded. But it's more or less to get them involved so they're aware of it. With regards to the Simmons one, we are looking at having whether it's a public meeting or neighborhood meeting, or whether it's just some kind of sharing, here's where we're at. Information session, so we will look at doing that. And just along neighborhood meetings, our department does neighborhood meetings quite regularly when we're actually developing parks in the area, when we want communities' input and involvement into those designs and developments. We don't necessarily go out and try to look for, more input that's necessary. Like we try to get when we need the input, we want to make sure it's valued input, and then we can actually utilize it and implement it. The worst thing is to go out to public and ask for their input on something and then not have the ability to actually act on it. So we try to balance that, and we also have to realize the capacity we have. We have the staff, we have what we can do, and this time of the year it's very busy. So But that's a good idea. We will do the Mulberry one for sure.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, just to follow up, thank you for your patience. So, Mr. Chair, just in the area of our green space, which is now a red space down on the corner of Water and Prince Street, I know that neighbors I've spoken to, and I'm sure the chair has spoken to, and our partners down there, is that we're looking at that space, which is the green space, red space right now north of the Founders Hall. There was discussion, I did raise it with the manager, and, you know, could have been an idea to have a discussion in the neighborhood about looking at that as a possibility for a beach volleyball area. It would be very attractive to the Founder Hall vendors, because what the vendors and the management are trying to do down at Founders Hall is trying to bring more people down. So if we have an opportunity to get public input, whether it's beach volleyball court, or, as it was mentioned to me today, down at the Shellfish, or as we call it, the Celebration Festival 2023, about the idea of looking at pickleball courts, because the demand is high, and we have space, and we should be using the space. And you know, Mr. Chair, yourself, the former councillor from Ward 7, asked repeatedly for this city to look at an outdoor beach volleyball court, and we've been still looking. And I think, speaking to another member of this committee, you know, we have a lot of demands on our facilities, and we need more facilities, especially if you look at our Indian and Pakistani, Bangladeshi community in regards to a cricket pitch. So, you know, there are many opportunities to get public input. Now, can we always deliver, Mr. Chair, on the public input? Probably not, but at least we're listening, and we're trying to look at future plans to develop a more viable and a more open, usable sports facilities throughout, as you've said many times, Mr. Chair, throughout the city. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I further comment on that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know, you know, I think about often Victoria Park, and I know that's a more challenging environment to operate in. But there is an enormous amount of space that is there for beach volleyball, pickleball, things of that nature. I'm not sure, do we explore those options, or do we just know right away that they're not viable options, in the sense of looking to Victoria Park as an area for expansion of something? I don't know what it is, and I'm not suggesting it's this, that, or the other thing. But what I've heard and understood is that, you know, when we mention Victoria Park, it's a different discussion, and I understand that. But are we not having the discussion because we're just not having the discussion around potential outlets that could be implemented there? So I think we should consider that if we're not. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, could I just want to make sure that our department has listened to some of the discussion we're talking about, because we're going to get calls about using the spaces that are now vacant, and, you know, we need to maximize, and I know it's a capacity issue on the part of the department, but we really, you know, if we need more bodies, we need more hands on deck, then we'll have to make that happen. I'm passionate about, and I know all of us around here are passionate about what facilities we can provide, or venues we can provide for the citizens of Charlottetown, and those who come to visit Charlottetown like to see that we had the venues available. But I really want to, you know, bring this home by, and if we have to, I really would like to have the Indian or Pakistani, Bangladeshi community come in and make a presentation to the standing committee on the need and the desire to create or build a cricket pitch, because it's a growing demand, and I'm sure that we have other demands out there that people would be more than willing to come in to speak to their concerns. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to continue on that a little bit. We did talk last month about putting the new sports fields, pickle courts, so on the agenda. I'm not going to get into it a whole lot, it's not on the agenda. But I did want to talk about a couple of things. One, the Sherwood Soccer Rangers would like to come in and make a presentation, similar to what he's talking about. So if that's okay, I'll let them know that they can come in and make a presentation.
Just have, Terry, just have to contact the manager, approximately.
Sure, yeah, yeah. But I think they want to commit to council, not just a committee. They want to present to council.
Let's start with the committee first.
Yeah, so, okay, so if we're going to start with the committee, we did that with the ball too, right?
Pardon me?
We did that with baseball already. So Wayne, whatever his name was, in for baseball. So what do you want to do, have them come in and then have them come in again?
Well, let's start here first.
Okay. So they're looking to come in and make a presentation to council. So Frank, if you want to put that in your notes.
Have them contact the manager, approximately.
Yeah. And the other thing was, and we talked earlier about land, and I know, the mayor brought up a pickleball and cricket, and we know we're behind in soccer fields, we know we're behind in ball fields, we know we're behind in rugby fields. For the city of Charlottetown to be a leader, we're certainly falling behind. So I do know that the conversation should be talked about pretty soon on some of that annexed land that we annexed into the city. And I know the province is interested in talking with us on that also. So I just want to bring that out there. There's a possibility there that we could have quite a bit of land. So I think the manager already knows about it. So they're looking to move on things fairly quickly here. I guess they have some projects they would like to do. They're talking to the landowners on assessments and property values. I know we have some money in the budget towards land purchase, but I don't think we've done a lot since that. So it's just to get the conversation going and see where we are with the province, because they want to work with us on this. So, and this was part of, when the land was being annexed to the city, there was obviously people in Marshfield that were against it. There's some for it, some against it. So I think this could be, there was a time when we were looking to have the land annexed to the city, that there was some people in Marshfield that were against the annexation.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, and there
A
was,
lot of people.
well, I don't know if there's a lot, but there was a lot in favor of it too. So anyway, so working with the province is something that we could come up that could be a win-win for everybody. So if we can, my thought would be if you could put a lot of these facilities out there, you have the land to put a lot of these facilities out there, then you can gradually put lights out there and you can have, you're not interfering with any residents, you're not worried about the noise. It's kind of, everything's in one place. So I think it's worth ramping up the discussions. So just wanted to bring that up, yours, or your, Mr. Chair. And so Frank, you have the notes on Sherwood Soccer Rangers. I believe it's Martha Ellis and Chuck Gallison.
Yes, I do, thank you.
Okay. So do you want me to get them to contact you, Frank? Or do you want to reach out to them?
I'll just have them contact Frank.
Okay.
I'll do the same, Mr. Yeah, I'll do the same, Mr. Chair, for the cricket pitch too. So the Cricket Association can come in and speak to us?
Whoever wants to talk to this committee, have them contact the Parks and Recreation Manager.
It's an open
It's
door.
always been the procedure.
It's an open door. Okay, thank you.
The manager, Parks and Recreation. Other than that, it must be a new phenomenon.
No.
Yeah, I
no,
don't
no,
think it's a
but
new
be
initiative. I think they-
Respectful to you, Mr. Chair. I would prefer to bring it up with the other committee members and staff here, and then if the standing committee agrees with my idea or your idea or someone else's, then we make contact. So I'm just respecting process. That's all I'm doing.
But just to be clear, it's not a new initiative. It's just they want to come in and give an update of where they are, the soccer growth, stuff like that, and what's the city's plans for increased growth. That's all they want.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
In terms of information sharing, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, the procedure is contact the manager, and then we'll go from there.
Yep, sure thing. Yep. No problem.
Challenges that they have, and lots of
Councillor Twill, no one can hear you.
Okay, and lots of times those issues and challenges, staff are able to deal with them at the staff level. I've known that from being chair of Parks and Rec. I know there's been meetings over the years where different organizations come in, met with staff. Frank would be there, Chris would be there, other members of the senior management team. And I don't know how many times, Frank, a lot of those issues were rectified at the staff level. So, I think it's worked out well in the past. I believe it'll continue to work out well. Thank you.
Since baseball was in, what have we done since then? Because that was 3 months ago.
Well, they have all the information. They're working on something. When they're ready to bring it forward, I know he's got a lot of irons in the fire.
No, I know he does too.
He's
I know.
got a lot of irons in the fire.
But I mean, no one else in council knows about the presentation that they made. So,
Right.
no one
Well,
else in
I think
council
it
knows
was
about the
recorded in the
presentation.
minutes.
What's that?
It would have been recorded in the minutes when they
That
made the
probably was, but
presentation.
nobody else got a copy of it.
It would have been in the
just this
council
committee.
package.
I don't think so.
Oh, I think
It
so.
was in the
Oh,
council-
indeed I
it
do.
was in the
Okay, my
council
apologies.
that-
Okay.
That
Yeah.
Walter McEwen was in
Yeah.
for the presentation.
So it come down to just land then?
That is our main stumbling block for most of our projects, or any new capital projects that are
Yeah.
needing new facilities. We need to,
Mr. Chair, not to belabor this to death, but I do believe it's great that we have user groups come in and present and make a case. I think what we need to do better, if we're not doing it, is how we're responding back. So we did have Walter McEwen, I believe, in 3 months ago, and if we have not provided at least some sort of acknowledgement that either, it is something that we are taking under consideration, we may look to put into an operation or a capital budget in the future, we owe it probably back to our groups that are taking that effort, because there's a lot of time goes in to make these presentations. And, we may not be able to act on all of them
That's right.
today or maybe even tomorrow, but at least we should be acknowledging that what we have done as a result of their presentation. So I would put that on as a strong recommendation for all these user groups that we're going to bring in.
Good point.
Thank you.
Good point. I wanted to bring up a couple of issues under new business. One is, about 2 or 3 years ago, we acknowledged a resident of this city who coaches Summerside team, the Western Capitals, and we never had a chance to officially recognize his achievements and accomplishments. Gentleman's name is Mike McGuigan. He's the head coach of the team. I wanted to. Billy, I'm sorry, Billy, Mike's brother.
Billy McGuigan.
Yeah, Mike's his brother. So Billy McGuigan. So I wanted to bring that up. I was talking with his parents and to see what we can do to officially recognize his achievements. We couldn't do it because of COVID. So I wanted to see what we could do to either by reception or some type of event here at City Hall. Frank, you can recall when we made that declaration. So with the committee's approval, I'm hoping that staff will look at some type of recognition for Frank, or for Billy, because again, because of COVID, we were restricted at that time.
Mr. Chair, just in a point of order, and you can question the point of order.
Yeah.
My understanding of introduction of new business is that you give notification. Like, I don't have any background, and I know.
Well, I
Billy,
don't either. I'm just,
and-
I wanted
no,
to bring it up,
And I know Mike,
to send it back to the committee,
And I
back to
know-
management.
Bernie, and Brenda, but I'd like to just have some background. The notification is so that all of us sitting around this table or sitting in this room have an idea of what we're going to be discussing, because I do understand where Billy's coming from, and I know where Bernie and Brenda's coming from. But again, I would just like to give this as a notification, if we can get some background and bring it up at the next meeting. And if you want to have a special meeting of this standing committee, I would be more than willing to make the time available to attend this special meeting.
Well-
Because I have a couple of items that I want to bring up, only under notification, under new business.
Right.
That's all I'm.
Bringing it up here to the committee,
Yeah.
so it goes back to management to look at
Yeah.
what can be done to officially recognize this gentleman and his achievements.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay?
yes, and I'm taking this as notification because we're not able to discuss it because I don't have the details either. And sorry,
Yeah.
my memory's not as good as it used to be, so.
Okay. Right. All right? The second item is, I received correspondence from a young lady whose children wants to sell ice cream. And they wanted to utilize a parking space at the West Royalty Community Center. So I have corresponded with senior management. I'm not so sure we can't help out because of different organizations that the city of Charlottetown has helped out.
Who helped out?
What?
Who did you say helped out? This,
Well, we've helped out a lot of organizations.
Yep.
So I'm bringing this up because all they want to do is acquire a parking space so that they can sell ice cream out of just a little small cart. So I wanted to pursue that and maybe have staff look at it and then bring it back here.
Point of order, I don't believe that's through our committee. I think that's under, is that not under police?
No, this is
Parking?
Parks and Recreation property.
For a parking spot?
Parks and Recreation property out at the West Royalty Community Center.
Oh, at the community center.
Yes. It's not downtown.
so, Mr. Chair, if I could just add, I know that, and you're familiar with this too, there's parking spaces that we take from parking lots for vendors, and it has to go through Public Works and Police because it's taking a parking space out of our inventory, and it's also infringing on possibly other
this-
users. So all I'm asking, Mr. Chair, I'm just asking, this is notification, this could be sorted out, and then something can be brought back to us. Again, if you need a special meeting, I will be here, I'm sure all of us
Yeah,
will
I
be
know,
here.
but that's why I'm
I
bringing
think,
it
I
up.
still think that's Public Works. I mean, the parking lot and the building are looked after by Public Works.
Well, I think it's a Parks and Recreation facility.
Yeah?
As I
But Public
understand
Works
it.
looks after the building and the parking lot.
Sorry, so one of the clarification, the request initially came in, and it was, I know the individual put the request in, but it was somewhat last minute. The initial request was a lot more of an ask, and then we got clarification what they were looking for, and the parking lot is managed by Public Works, as is the building. So that's part of the issue as well. So I was off on vacation, so I don't know where that exactly stands.
So to be clear, the response was sent to this resident regarding the ice cream cart. It doesn't fit with Parks, because we had your response from Parks. It's also not supported through police. It doesn't meet the definition of a tricycle ice cream cart. So we have a scenario here where we don't have policy to support what is being asked for. The only way to address this, if it's on public land, is the creation of a new policy that has to be approved through council. So what has been recommended to this individual is, because they're hitting these barriers, because we don't have policy to support this kind of application at this point, that it would be a more straightforward process if they were proposed to do this activity on private land and not on public. So that's the resolution, or to resolve the situation, not a council resolution, but a resolution to the situation to help this resident with what they want to do. The other challenge of being absent of policy, if we let one set of children sell their ice cream on public land, we could end up with many sets of children selling ice cream on public land. So then as a municipality, we need to have a policy to address this. So we can provide the background report and the correspondence, but that's essentially where this situation sits. It is between departments, because we've looked at it every possible way to try and get this permitted on public land. We just don't have the framework to support it at this point.
I have a question for you. What was the policy to allow the community fridge at West Royalty? What was the policy that was utilized or referenced when the community fridge was installed at the West Royalty facility on that land? It didn't even come to this committee. So was there a policy?
Mr. Chair, I was there for the opening.
Yeah, you might have been there for the opening. I'm not asking that. What I'm asking is, was there a policy that was referenced with respect to the community fridge being put on Parks and Recreation facility. I mean, I certainly wasn't made aware of it as chair of this committee.
I'm not 100% sure that how the process went, but like you said, it isn't necessarily Parks and Recreation. It's Public Works that manages the parking lot and the facility. So, and I'm not sure the community fridge, where it initially came from, it would have went through Environment and Sustainability, I believe. Am I correct in assuming that? And maybe I shouldn't be making assumptions, so.
Turn on your mic, Kerry. Mike?
So I'll have to look back into that to see who.
But just respectful to the chair, being respectful to the chair, because I know some of these issues can get very emotional and heated. I was at the opening, and if you understand, we all understand the impact gifts from the heart have on this community. No, let me just finish. It's not about, look, I respect any young person that wants to make, money through his or her own efforts, but that Gifts from the Heart facility was also, there was one open out in Cornwall, there's going to be one opening in Stratford on public land. It's about, and no different than what the community fridge did down there on Summer Street or Connolly Street with the cooperation from the Sherwood Parkdale Sherwood Lions Club. So I see the impact of that decision totally different from what we're discussing here regarding that ice cream stand.
Just none of this stuff's on the agenda. None of this stuff's on the agenda. I think we're way off track
Yeah, I think
here.
so as well. I
So
think
it's not in
we're
the
going
agenda.
down the
Anyway,
rabbit hole.
Terry, reason why I brought it up, to send it back to staff.
Yeah.
That's all. So.
And I'd just like to note, I think that there has been a solid effort by the city to address this concern. I think that if there's more that can be done, it can be brought back to this committee in regards to here's the options, here's what we can and can't do, and address it through that means. So I appreciate you bringing it forward
Yeah.
as a request. It seems like it's being well dealt with, or at least to some degree investigated. I know we'll have other situations like this, and I think that is where
Yeah.
we should leave that at this point in time. We're solutioning here, and we're trying to figure out different things, but I think
Exactly.
we're way off base.
But I mean, the only thing is, like I said, our CAO talked about a policy. I'd just like to know what the policy was for the community fridge. Okay, thank you. Move for adjournment?
Just one other
Just,
thing.
I want to give notification under new business. And this is about, again, I just received this information from the Environment, Energy, and Climate Action Department. Apparently, our AT pathway Terry Fox Drive has been denied. And I see that the J. Frank McCauley ATP Active Transportation pathway have not received funding from the province. So I see in our budget, we have 80,000 for the Terry Fox Drive to Brighton Road. And then we have in the J. Frank McCauley, 200,000. So I would just like to get more information at the next meeting on those two issues. Thank you.
And you, Mr. Chair, I just want to welcome your new Parks and Rec admin person.
Oh, sorry.
DL.
Thank you.
Your new Parks and Rec admin person. Just would welcome DL to the team.
Welcome, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome. Congratulations. Okay, move for adjournment.
Moved. Thank you.
Second.